NaissanceE, a first-person puzzle and exploration game by French developers Le Mas 5, is a work of art. This game is a monochromatic tour de force, a brutalist, unforgiving world which gives the impression of inherent meaning for you to decipher, but ends up being nothing more than a blank canvas on which your own feelings are not so much laid bare as they are splattered across the walls. NaissanceE alternates between oppressive darkness and blinding brightness, with a jarring suddenness that makes it clear that the game does not care about you. This is not a world for you. You shouldn't be here. And it achieves this better than any game I've ever played. And that's what's wrong with it. Towards the end of NaissanceE, you find yourself in a seemingly endless desert under an oppressively engineered sky. There are a few landmarks you can explore, or not, before moving on. But one landmark in particular is indicative of my problem with this game. You find a structure half buried in the sand. The walls are broken, crumbling, the floors and ceilings all but gone. The desert has offered no direction or instruction on how to proceed up to this point, and you likely found these ruins through aimless wandering. So when you get there, you explore. You find nothing of interest until you encounter a strange window in a half-destroyed wall, blinding light spilling out of it, painting the nearby structure with brilliant white that's all the more stark due to the dour uniformity of your surroundings. You walk around the wall to find the source of the light and find nothing. There's no light source beyond the window, no hidden room, just a ruin with a hole in it. But there are stairs leading up to the window, so you take them, and once at the top, you do the only thing you can do. You walk through the hole. At first it seems like nothing's happened, you just walked through a hole in the wall and ended up on the other side. But then the structure changes. Gone are the faded orange walls, replaced by an intact, pristine structure apparently untouched by the hands of time. But before you can absorb your new surroundings, that too is whisked away to be replaced by a black void with the structure's walls lined out on the floor like a 1-to-1 scale blueprint. The game continues to cycle between these views, and as you move through the building, you realise that the interval between each switch gets shorter and shorter the closer you get to the exit. By the time you're nearly out of the building, the view flickers like a strobe light, one that you not only have to endure, but focus intently on to find your way out. This section of the game was uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable in the sense that it deals with a heavy subject matter or it forces me to confront something about myself. Physically uncomfortable. For people with photosensitivity issues, this and other parts of the game are flat out exclusionary, hostile even. It would be easy to write this off as a mechanical failing, bad development, a lack of proper playtesting, that kind of thing. But given the nature of the game, I strongly suspect that this is exactly what the developers intended. The game is constructed from top to bottom to make the player feel unwelcome, and it extends that intent beyond the game world itself, reaching out of the screen to grab you by the scruff of the neck and shake you. You are not a passive spectator in this experience, it says. You are not playing a character who is unwelcome in this world. You are unwelcome in this world. There have been many attempts to interpret NaissanceE, and I, frankly, lack the artistic chops to meaningfully contribute to that discussion. And this is not an examination of video games as an art form. That debate is settled as far as I'm concerned. Video games are every bit as legitimate an art form as music or movies. But like music or movies, there is a correlational relationship between artistry and accessibility. And I don't mean artistry in a mechanical sense, like the ability to draw a pretty picture or play guitar really well, but artistry in the way that Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse is art.
Say it!
I don't have to say nothing.
Danny!
Sometimes the accessibility of art can be a purely interpretive barrier. For example, many people enjoyed the Alex Garland movie Annihilation, but the degree to which people missed the point of the movie was significant enough that Folding Ideas made a whole ass video about it. Whether art loses significance if people appreciate it aesthetically without understanding the deeper meaning is a discussion I neither want to weigh in on, nor, to be honest, particularly care about. But there is value in looking at this from the other side. Brazilian artist Vic Muniz introduced the world to Verso, a way to gain new perspective on beloved paintings by, well, looking at the arse end of them. You see, the backs of famous paintings tell a story, markings and labels from years of being shown in galleries and museums, and Muniz wanted to show the world this side, the backside, of some of these works of art. Now, how you or I feel about this as an art form is neither here nor there. The point is that making a medium less accessible not only doesn't stop it from being art, in some cases it's that lack of accessibility that makes it art. In the case of the Versos, the point is not about denying people a glimpse of whatever masterpiece lies on the other side of the canvas. It's about showing a side of things that most people never get to see. It involves the medium of paint, but it's not a painting. Moving back to the medium of video games, we can look at Louis Brooks' Monuments to Guilt. A digital exhibition that highlights hostile architecture, often designed to make life harder for homeless people. The game is a walking simulator in the purest sense. There is nothing to interact with, nothing to do. You just observe. Ostensibly about benches that are exclusionary to certain members of society, the game strives to be exclusionary to you, the player. Signs adorn the wall giving you a list of things that you can't do in the museum. There are no controls beyond the ability to move slowly around, and your vision of the game world is restricted by enormous white letterboxing, almost like you're furtively peeking at something that you shouldn't be through, well, a letterbox. The game is about exclusion, and it strives to extend that feeling of exclusion out to you. It doesn't want you to observe the exclusionary effects of the benches in the museum in a passive, detached way. It wants you to feel excluded. It seems fair to grant NaissanceE the same status. The developers were clearly on an artistic kick with this one, so it's reasonable to give them the benefit of the doubt that the more questionable elements of the game were intentional choices rather than, well, bad game design. I mean, it could also just be bad game design. But herein lies the problem. The chances of people heading out to an art gallery where Verso is on display and being upset that they can't look at the front of a painting are a lot slimmer than the chances of someone downloading a game from Steam and being upset because it gives them an epileptic seizure in the name of artistic vision. Context matters. Monuments to Guilt is available on itch and clearly describes the experience you're in for. NaissanceE can be found on Steam in the adventure category. Within minutes of entering the world of NaissanceE, you are confronted with recognisable platforming and puzzle elements. In distribution and presentation, this looks like a video game, not an art installation. Unfortunately, this makes the more hostile mechanics harder to accept. The retina-burning strobing, the disorienting pitch-black mazes, even the breathing mechanic. God, the breathing mechanic. Breathing in the game is not hard, and in some ways that makes it worse. It's not a skill you have to master, it's a chore for you to stay on top of. It's busy work. By the end of the game, you find yourself clicking the mouse at regular intervals on autopilot even though you're not running anymore. I can think of several ways in which the breathing ties into potential interpretations of the events in the game, And I can accept that this is an intentional mechanism to make the player feel part of the experience, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a lousy game mechanic. All of these choices, I believe, were intentionally made to convey the game's sense of hostility, of rejection to the player. Lucy, the game's protagonist, has gone through some shit. And by playing this game, you are going through some shit with her. And they achieved that. I definitely felt at times that this game did not want me here. Like most videos on my channel, I'm talking to indie game developers more than anyone. This is not a call for artists to stay away from my beloved medium of video games. I think art should be allowed to exist in any form. But it is a call for game developers not to lose sight of context. For Monuments to Guilt, it enhances the experience to exclude the player with enormous white letterboxing. But the claustrophobic white vignetting you get in NaissanceE when you're out of breath is just annoying. It doesn't make the game harder, it just irritates. NaissanceE is fundamentally a video game experience, and the steps the game takes to make you feel unwanted, uncomfortable, alienated, they just get in the way of that experience. The result ends up feeling less like a meaningful artistic endeavour using the medium of video games, and more like a game that should have been playtested more before it was released. I genuinely admire the NaissanceE developers for trying to create something that transcends the typical game experience. The amount of work that must have gone into this project to then be released for free is something that deserves praise regardless of the end result. It's a visually stunning game that does everything it can to make you feel the way the game's broken protagonist feels. I just wish they'd found better ways to do it. This video was made possible by you. If you're watching this, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, commenting, sharing, you are actively helping the channel and me and ensuring that more content like this gets made. And if you really like the content, you could consider becoming a YouTube member or a Patreon, like these wonderful people. Every little helps.